Hey there, my name is Mesamiduck and I'm an ex-professional in-game leader and content creator for Hound. Today's video, I'm going to share with you 10 tips and tricks that can help players of all ranks improve their gameplay, whether you're a silver, global, or even compete in the SEA leagues. These tips will come in handy and elevate your skills to the next level. Let's get right to it. Let's kick things off with the first tip for silver players, crosshair placement. I cannot stress this enough for how important this skill is in the game of Counter-Strike. In the game of Counter-Strike, it is all about revenge kills and trade kills on your entry fragger, and you as a second fragger that gets that trade kill gains that space from the lost entry fragger. This is so incredibly important. It's much better than winning the gunfight as an entry. That second kill is actually much more important into actually gaining ground and getting consistent round wins. Pro players that are known for crosshair placement are players like Rops, Twists, and Nico. Now there's also a concept called off angles, where these angles that you pre-aim, like this CT here, I'm pre-aiming this corner on CT, but I have off angles here that the CT could be that I'm not aiming. So it is also very important to clear your quarter angles as well, where you jiggle all the angles upcoming to this if you really want to be diligent and you have advantage in all these fights. Another tip for silver players is to focus on your movement. This means learning how to strafe, bunny hop, and peek effectively. By doing so, you can outmaneuver your opponents and get the upper hand in gunfights. Like this cat fight here, this is much earlier timing than the T side anticipated. This fight is usually more time around between sink and chair right here. By taking the latter path with that extra added mobility, I can take this fight a lot earlier. It's very unexpected. Moving on to Gold Nova players, one common mistake that many silver players make is not utilizing their utility effectively. It's important to learn how to use grenades, smokes, and flashes to gain an advantage over your opponents. Just like this A-Rush here, I've used my flash effectively to make my fight a lot easier against the first opponent, if not second opponent on this A-Rush. Now, I've used a smiley towards early A ramp, so I have this sound indication that they are doing an A rush because they extinguish his molly, just like so. Now that gives me an early indication to flash out balcony, play anti-flash, and then peek off my flash. This is a very high advantaged fight for me. And also, this is just protocols in general. This is very good. And even when you get nervous in games or tournaments or in pugs, you have this protocol set in place where you don't second guess yourself or etc. to that effect. This is automatically set in place now that when you play off your feeling on tournaments and lands, you don't ever second guess yourself. This system will never get nervous. This will always be a hard rule that you should follow. Another tip for Gold Nova players is to work on your aim. This means practicing your flick shots, tracking, and spray control. By doing so, it allows you to be more accurate, deadly with your weapons, and efficient in trading. So flick shots, my favorite way to practice, is purposely put my cursor off my target and flick on the target, just like this. Now I'm just practicing constant micro flicks. You could also do this in aim labs and grid shot. I also do that as well, but in the game I feel like it's best because it's a 1-to-1 ratio and you're not transferring over the skill game to game. And tracking is also important because when you're swinging corners, you might want to pre-aim an angle or you're holding your spray on a moving target. It's very important to keep that consistent. Not as important as microflex in my opinion, but also still very crucial. And your last one is spray control, because sometimes you'll have two targets that will peek you on a retake or double swing or anything to that matter, and it's unexpected. This will just happen in Counter-Strike. You get maybe a first clean kill in the first one, and this really wasn't a clean kill, but you understand my point. It is very important to do this because every fight matters, because your opponent will miss shots too. So it's important to punish that by having a cleaner spray control, cleaner tracking, or cleaner strafe shots, or anything to that matter. For Master Guardian players, one important tip is to always be aware of your surroundings. This means checking your angles, listening for footsteps, and keeping an eye on your radar, because sometimes you do see your opponent or your teammate sees your opponent. Now, it's also important to look at your radar for your teammate's positioning on map control, so maybe you can time your pinch better with your teammate B Halls, for example on Cat here. Also, there are just some angles that are off angles that are secret, so if I come jiggle Cat like this, I don't see a player on this brick angle. So if I go to clear the next angle, there's this off angle here that's very secret. So always be aware of all your off angles and be very diligent when you can. So this cat player angle, this one, crouched, we have to be aware as I'm a bench player peeking up towards cat because I don't see him at all. But he definitely is very much there. So always be aware of what positions that you need to clear, but ones that you're also aware of, because what happens a lot of the time is top connector gets smoked on Mirage, we're entering up cat, and we're running, but there's no window smoke. And I could have just got off here very easily on this passive off angle. So that's something to be very sure of, and this takes a lot of time. But if you just break it down and go through the motions of just what angles you need to clear and what angles that you need smokes to continue clearing, because I can't go past this point unless window is smoked or mollied, or at least flash, but most commonly smoked. So I can continue clearing angles without getting pinched by 2 different angles, or at least as best you can. Another tip for Master Guardian players is to work on your game sense. This means understanding how to read your opponent's playstyles, their tendencies, and predicting their movements, so we can make strategic decisions based on that information. If the enemy team is constantly peeking angles without utility, try using it off to punish the enemy team. Just like this apps peek, I could get posted early and I could get a free kill and fall back, and I could further take another angle, take a shot, fall back, and take another passive angle, take an angle, fall back. I could have easily killed 3 people here. Now, if I was playing it off towards B, and I decided to just post on a passive angle entirely, and then a B rush was happening because my opponents are very aggressive, or they're an eco round, and I need to be aware of a B rush. Like, taking a very passive angle could be risky. Of course, it all just depends on the context of the round and the opponent, as all plays are correct, but also wrong at the same time. So it's very important to decide when is correct, like what play, and when it is wrong. Another tip for Legendary Eagle to Global Elite players is to work on your positioning. This means understanding the importance of map control and positioning yourself in a way that allows you to hold down key areas and choke points in order to consistently win rounds. In this situation, I have my upper end window covering me in a 2-man setup in post mid, where we either did an aggressive mid setup or the T side is taking slow mid. So now we're in a post mid setup where if they throw any flashes behind me, I'm anti-flash. Smoked out mid, flashes out middle, 1 dead, 2 dead, 1 underpass, 3 dead underpass. So this is very important. In a retake situation on the T side, you want to do a setup that counters 3, where they do not expect you to be in such like open areas, and this is a direct setup to counter this. So if your opponent, this is also comes in on reading your opponent's playstyles and anticipation as well. So if you notice they're doing retake mid constantly, go into a anti-retake mid setup so you can anticipate this better rather than playing a passive setup. Now, passive setups could also be correct. It just depends what your team wants in the round and how much utility you have. Context is very important. Another tip for Legendary Eagle to Global Elite players is to work on your positioning. This means understanding the importance of map control, positioning yourself in a way that allows you to hold down key areas and choke points in order to consistently win rounds. Finally, for professional players, one important tip is to constantly analyze your gameplay and learn from your mistakes. This means watching replays, studying your opponents, and constantly refining your strategies. By doing so, you can stay ahead of the competition and continue to improve your gameplay. Remember, you do not lose if you learn from your loss. You are learning. You are not losing, and you're getting better. So in the long run, you will win more. Counter-Strike is a game about polishing. So if you don't learn anything from your loss, then you're generally just losing without improvement. That's not great for the long run. Now, of course, in my demo review template on my channel on Mesamiduck on YouTube, I have this template for free that, of course, you and your team could use. Now, in this document, I have it designed where you can go round by round and tally up your mistakes, and then put notes on the bottom. And you could also do a summary for the map that you can give to your team so you save a lot of time. Finally, my last tip, and another tip for professional players. This is to work on your communication. This means communicating effectively with your teammates, sharing information, and making calls that are clear and concise. Remember, teamwork wins the game, not individual plays. So in this example, I'm going to have my teammate in connector, and he's going to ask me for a flash for the mid player because they have been playing super aggressive, and he wants a flash play. Of course, he could throw the flash himself, but it's not guaranteed to land perfectly, the pop flash, and it could make noise. So of course, me as the anchor, I'll say, sure, I'll flash for you over connector, just call for it. So my teammate is coming over, I'm holding the flash, flashing, pop, and now he can get a kill for free. And of course, teamwork is key in Counter-Strike. If you found these tips helpful, please hit the like button and subscribe to Hound for more CS content. I'm Mesamiduck, thanks for watching.